Okay, we're up to Samech Beis Amid Beis. At the bottom, we're at the story of the great Rabbi Akiva. It's truly amazing, right? Rabbi Akiva Roya de Ben Kalba Savua. 4 lines to the bottom. Rabbi Akiva was a shepherd of a very wealthy person, Kalba Savua. The Gemara in Gittin tells us that anyone would go into his house as ravens as a dog, as a kelev, would come out satiated. He'd come out Savua. Havi Chazise Barte David Snia Umaile. His daughter's name Rachel doesn't even say it, that his daughter saw Rabbi Akiva, that he was a tznuah, who was Mile. She saw that he had fantastic midas. I'm gonna share with you a Gemara in a second. If I go ahead and accept kedusha from you, also Snevei Rav, will you go learn? So in other words, this we said yesterday, we spoke out that even though Stam Rishus is 30 days, and you shouldn't do more, but if this is you get married, Taisa said, on the smach, on this purpose of this, then of course it's okay. Samlay in, so Ikdishola Bitsina, he was Makadisha Bitsina, the Shadrase, and she sent him away. Shama Avua and Afkami Besa. And the father heard about this, and what did he do? He threw her out. He threw her out. And not only did he throw her out, but Odra Hanam in the Chasa. She said she can't have enough in the Chasa. So he disowned him. Also, Yasser Tresori Shana, Rabbi Akiva sat in Beis Medrash for 12 years. Ve'rav. Kiyasa, when he came, I see Bahade Tresori Alfei Talmidei. He had 12,000 Talmidim with him. I guess he was very successful. Shamel Husaba the Ka'amala. They heard that he's coming, right? So the Kamalayad Kama. So here, this old lady, this old man was telling her, Rachel, how long will you remain a living almana? So Amalei, ilididit size, if you'd listen to me, Yasser Tresari Shanachrini, go another for 12 years. So Amar, so said Rabbi Akiva, B'shuska Avdina, Hada Azal Yasser Tresari Shanachrini. He went back for another 12 years. Very famous question is, why did they come in to say hello? And the famous answer is because 12 and 12 is not 24. 12 and we have Afsak in learning, the continuity of learning for 24 years straight versus 12 and 12. It's what? Yeah, it's a very famous right. Very famous right. I think it's from Chaim also. No. 12 and 12 is not 24. Again, this is from the most famous Gemaras in Shas. And in Kiyasa, when he came back, I see Bahade Estin Rabba Alfei Talmidim. He had 24,000 Talmidim, twice the amount he had earlier. Shama de Vesayu have his kanaf la paces. His wife heard his coming. She went out to greet him. So Amrullah, they told her, Shivasa Shili Mane Lavush. Go ahead, borrow something, and to wear to be appropriate. So Amrullah, she told him, Yodeya Sadik Nefesh Behemtai. The Sadik knows the Nefesh of Behem. I don't have to get dressed up. Kimatla Gabe, when she got to Rabbi Akiva, Nafla al Apa, she fell on the ground. Kamenashko Levakari. She mamish kissed him on his feet. The shamus was pushing her away. Samalahu Rabbi Akiva said, Shavkua liva, shaliva shalachem shalahu. Anything that I am and anything that you are is only because of her. Very famous word. Shaliva shalachem shalahu. Whatever I am is because of her. Shamavu da asagava rabba. So Kalba Savua heard that a great man was coming to town. Lamasa Amar Ezel Lagabe. Let me go to this man. And after they may finidare, maybe you can have nullify my neder. As Lagabe, and he came to him. Amalei Adaita the Gava Rabba, Mina Darta. If you knew that your son-in-law would become a great person, would you go and make that neder? Guys, listen to these words. Amalei, Afilu Perik Echad. Even though he was capable of learning one perik, Afilu Halacha Achas, and even though I thought he was capable of learning one halacha, I went and made the neder. So Amalei said, Rabbi Akiva, Anahu, I am him. Nafal Alape Kalba Savua fell on his face, on his the Nashke Al Kari, and Imamish kissed Rabbi Akiva on his feet. V'yovle Palgam Amoina, and he gave half of his worth to Rabbi Akiva. So here now is wealthy. Barte de Rabbi Akiva, the daughter of Rabbi Akiva, of the Leila ben Azai, did the same thing to Ben Azai. Anchi, people say Rechila Basar Rechila Azla. Ka'oiv the Ima, Kach of the Barta, that sent it away for quite a few years. If you look at Tosfos, Barta de Rabbi Akiva, of the Leila ben Azai, from time about Perikama de Saita Parich, Ika ben Azai de Nasiv. The Gemara they're speaking about the mitzvah of how do you know how long a bia is? In other words, with the Gemara in Saita, you have to know how long behind closed doors they would been to assume that they had relations. and Ben Asai is giving his opinion, and Ben Asai never got married. Like, how can he give his opinion if he never got married? So the Gemara says, "Ulahu lishna the Mishani Nasib that he got married, Upirish Ashishapir." So very good. So if he got married and then he left, we understand. He only went through Arison. He did not mamish go through the whole thing. Okay. And as Ben Azai, the Gemara says, is married to Torah. Ben Azai, we had the Gemara guys in Samich Gimel Samich Dalid in Yevomis. We had the Sugi Pir Verivia, and he piped up, and they said like you weren't Makayim. So he said, "What can I do now?" Shechashka b'Torah, right? We had that Gemara by Ben Azai. Anyway, Rabbi Yosef Breid Rav Shari Avu Lebei Rav Lakamed Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef, the son of Rava, was sent by his father Rava to learn by Rabbi Yosef. Paskale Shishoni, and he was after 6 years he left. Kiavi Tilish for 6 years. Kiavi Tilish Shani at 3 years. Mati Malayum the Kippur. He was coming home. So I'm Ezel Vachsin she basically let me go see my wife. Shama Avua, his father heard, and Shakal Mana, he took a hoe, he took some type of weapon. She says Klizayin, took a sword, he took a Nafalape. He's going to talk about tough love. He wanted to send him back to yeshiva. Amalei Zainschan in this character. Oh, Ikdami Amalei Yanaisa this character. He's really getting on his case. What do you think that my daughter is? So anyway, Itrid they were fighting. Loimar Ivsik that year of Yom Kippur. Loimar Ivsik. Neither one made the Suda Mafsekas. Neither one Mafsek Mafsekas. So I thought it's a very easy Gemara, and I thought we should spend a little time with Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is everything. Rabbi Akiva is the Rebbe Torah Shabbat. The Gemara says those 5 Talmidim, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yosef, 5 Talmidim, all halacha comes down to Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was mamish the Rebbe of Torah Shabbat. He started learning at 40, and he was Rebbe Torah Shabbat. Now, first the idea is it said she saw Midas in him. If you want to get an idea of the Midas Rabbi Akiva, I give you this Gemara in Kuf Chav Zayin in Shabbos, Masech the Shabbos, Tanrabanan. Adon Chaver lekapschus, Don Roisay l'schus. U'maisabod anechad, she yored migolul ha'elyon. He came down from the Upper Galilee. The Nischaetz of Balabayas, Echad Bedarim, and he was working in the south for a balabas. Shalosh Shanim, he worked there for 3 years. Erev Yom Kippur, Amalai, and Erev Yom Kippur, Amalai said, "Take me schari ve'elech, give me my schar, so I'll leave. I'll go ahead and give parnas to my wife. Ubanai and my son. Amalai, ainli mois. I don't have any money. Amalai, tainli payris, give me payris. Amalai, ainli karka, give me karka. Ainli behema, ainli karnavi kistais, give me pillows and or mattresses. Ainli hivshel kelev achayrav. He put on his back. He put his belongings. V'halach lebeisay pachinefesh. He left in pachinefesh. He was upset, but again, la'achar regel natal balabayis schara biyadoi. He took his schar in his hands. V'imay mashvei gimel chamorim echad shel Michael ve'echad shel Mishta. Took along 3 donkeys, one with food, one with drink, and one with all kinds of type of delicacies. And he went to this worker. After he ate and drank, he paid him amalai. So said the man to the worker, "The shasha amali tainli schari varmata ainli mois. What are we thinking?" So Amar Shema pragmatio bezulnas damelcha. Maybe he had a chance to make a good business deal. Maybe something came along and he needed liquid cash. When I told you Teli behema ve'amarti ainli behema shachashtani amarti shema muscheres bi'aracherim. Maybe it's rented out to somebody else. B'shosha amli Teli karka ve'amarti ainli karka machashtani amra shema muchreches bi'aracherim. Maybe it was you contracted it out for payments to somebody else. Ubeshasha matlucha ainli paris b'machashtani. Mati Shema Enu Musaris, maybe they weren't Muslim. Ubeshasha matlucha ainli karim v'kistais b'machashtani. Amati Shema higdish kol lechasam l'shamayim. Amalei ha'avoida lashon shvua kach. That's exactly what happened. That's what happened. So right, that's exactly what happened. The Rami Pano says that this person was Rabbi Akiva. The Rami Pano says this person was Rabbi Akiva. It's a little schwer because it says he went back to his wife and his kid. And he's the great Rabbi Akiva. He wasn't working. It's a kasha, but nonetheless, the Rami Pano says this is Rabbi Akiva. So you want to know the midas that Rachel son of Rabbi Akiva. This is the midas, the son of Rabbi Akiva. This great midah, beautiful midas, beautiful midas. Now, if Bemis Taisus brings it by us, we looked at Taisus Samech Beis on the base by us. David Sini Male. He asked it from a Gemara in Pesachim. V'hodom be'elu oivrim, Amrei Akiva, Kishayisi Amaretz, when I was in Amaretz, Hayisi oimer, mi yitain li talmidei chachamim, who would give me a talmid chacham, ve'anashchenu kichamar, and I'll bite him like a donkey. In other words, the Gemara says that a dog rips away the skin, but a donkey breaks the bones. Because Mamish say, how can you say that's a good midas? He's going to go ahead when he was an Amaretz. Clearly he was an Amaretz now. He hadn't gone to learn yet. And he said he would have bitten, he would have mashma the loy havi male, that he wasn't such a good person. So some Sefer speaks out that a sin of a Torah, an Amaretz is a sin of a Torah, has nothing to do with midas. He says you find such a thing that a person can be a midas, but something something bothers them. Something bothers them. For the Amaretz Torah that they lord over you, it could be bothering very much. So I once heard a shmuz from Rav Shmuel Ben Bam Zechet Tzadik Kodesh Levrachas Chos Yagan Aleinu. Said an unbelievable thing. We have our Gemara here. I sent you a Gemara, guys. I sent something out today. I sent you a Gemara in Yavamis. I sent you a Gemara in Yavamis. What does the Gemara say? Yavamis? Not Yavamis. It's a Gemara in. Let me see if I get a full screen. Okay. Can see it? Okay. It's a Gemara in Menachos, guys. Listen to this Gemara. Go down a little bit. About 8 lines down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Rav Yehuda Amarav. When Moshe went up to get the Torah, he found the Kadosh Baruch Hu sitting, and he was making the tagin for the Isius. The crowns for the Isius. Said Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbeinu Shalom, like, what's the purpose? There's a person that will be at the end of many generations. I don't know am I recording this? Oh my gosh. Oh.
You are. Yeah, you're recording it.
Okay. Oh, I just had this terrible flashback. Oh my gosh. Where is that? Okay. Oh, that would have been the worst. So he told them that there'll be a person after many generations. On each one of these, each protrusion from the Isius, he's going to dash in halachas. Amalufanav. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Rabbeinu Shalom, Hareuli, show him to me. Amaloi, Chazal acharecha, turn around. Halach v'yashiv b'sleiv shmeina shurais. Moshe sat in the base medrash. He was sitting in Rabbi Akiva's base medrash, and he was sitting behind 8 rows. Moshe Rabbeinu did not know what was flying. He didn't know what was flying. Guys, don't feel bad enough. Tashas kaichai. So Tashas kaichai. He had chalishas adas. Moshe felt terrible. They reached a certain point. Amulai Talmidav Rebbe minayin lecha. How do you know this? Amulahen halacha Moshe misinai. Moshe felt a lot better. Okay. Moshe came back and he stood in front of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Amalafanav, guys, listen to these words. Rabbeinu Shalom, yesh lecha adam kizeh v'ata noisin Torah al yadi. You have a person like this, and you're going to give the Torah through me. Amalei shtoi kachal mashava. The Kadosh Baruch Hu says, Moshe, be quiet. This is what my machshava was. It's such a pella ployim dika thing. We have a Gemara over here. Kalba Savur was no idiot. He wasn't a fool. He knew the shepherd. He knew who he was. Says Shmuel Zatzal. Give a cook was a men's ton. Look what a person can do and accomplish with hasmada, with siyata d'shmaya. A person who Kalba Savur is accused of not being able to learn one parak or one halacha gets to the point where Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Yesh ish kizeh v'atat daisen Torah biyadi." It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable with what a person can accomplish. Because be'emes, it's all siyata d'shmaya. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees a person is given, a person is given over, and he wants to learn so much, because there's nothing a person can accomplish. Torah is unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. It's such an unbelievable insight. And I was thinking, the people that have made Judaism what it is are people who worked on themselves. The greatest person in our history is Moshe Rabbeinu. there is a Tiferes Yisrael in the last Mishnah Kedushin, Asar Yuchsin, on the words Toyushev Reifa Gehenim, the best Reifa goes to Gehenim, speaks out how Moshe Rabbeinu had terrible midas. What happened was there was a king, and he felt that he wanted Moshe. He said Moshe was the greatest person. He heard about Kriyas Yamsuf and he heard about Siyas Mitzrayim. So he sent people to go ahead and sent an artist to draw a picture of Moshe. The artist went, he saw Moshe, he drew a picture, and he brought it back, and he had Chachamim who were experts in reading faces. And they said, this person has the worst midas in the world. Like he said, any bad midas you can think of, this person had. So he wanted to kill the artist. So the artist said, no, I'm telling you, I drew him correctly. Guys, look it up. In the Mishnayos. So he comes back, the king, and he wants to kill the Chachamim. They said, we didn't make a mistake either. So the king decides he has to go see himself. And he went to see Moshe. And he sees that the artist drew him correctly. So he has told Moshe what his Chachamim said. And Moshe said, it's true. He goes, those are my midas, but I worked my whole life to correct them. I worked everything to make myself better. It's a Peladic thing. The big kasha on is that it's after Matan Torah, right? There was a masach. You couldn't draw a Moshe. There was a mask on his face. It's kasha v'maisa. Kasha v'maisa. But yeah, I'm saying it's after Matan Torah. So it's unbelievable. Like here's Moshe Rabbeinu, David HaMelech. Think about David HaMelech. Melech Yisrael, David is number one. David worked on himself. It was unbelievable the life he led. We spoke out many times that David was the first 28 years of his life. He was choshed that he was a mamsa. He mamish worked on himself. He had midas. He was when Shmuel Hanavi saw him, Hashem says, "Come, get up." Why do you have to command to get up? By default, he was the king. He was the last son of Yishai. And the answer was, he said, this guy's a murderer. This guy's a murderer. He's red. He's the mamish a murderer. He's born on the Madim. He's born on the Mars. What does Kadosh Baruch Hu tell Shmuel? Because he has beautiful eyes. He'll only kill with the consent of the Sanhedrin with the eyes of Klal Yisrael. Again, Midas. He worked on Midas. And here you have the great Rabbi Akiva. Everything's with him. The greatest people that we have. We think that they worked and they worked and they worked and they worked. And it's a tremendous, tremendous hassle for those who are raising children and grandchildren to be able to go ahead and give this over. The idea that don't think everything came easy to anybody, right? No one's a born tzaddik. It's people have nisyonis. And the greater the nisyonis and the greater you work on yourself, the greater you can be. Our greatest people. Rabbi Yehuda, that's Rabbi Akiva. Kal b'savua, Kesuvos, Samech Gimel, afilu perek echad, afilu halacha echad, chavtes menachis, yesh ish kazeh b'Yisrael v'ata nice and tarviyad. Guys, it's not to be believed. It's not to be believed. Yeah. Tremendous message, tremendous message of chizuk to all of us. Says the Mishnah, Hamaredes al baila, if a woman goes ahead and she's Maredes al baila, and she rebels against her husband. We'll see what that means. You go ahead and you deduct from her ksuba. In other words, you begin to deduct. What's the deduction? Shiva dinarim b'Shabbos. Every week you take off Shiva dinarim. Of Yudaima, Shiva tarpikin, which is a half a dinar, half the amount. Ad masai hu paisayach. How much do you deduct? Ad keneg ksubasa till you go ahead and you deduct the whole ksuba. Rabbi Yossi says even more than that. You would even right even if she inherits something, you would go ahead. A man who rebels against his wife, he has to add on the ksuba. Shleisha dinarim b'Shabbos, but not as much, not 7, but he adds on 3 dinarim a week. If you do the same ratio, shleisha tarapikin, or 3.5 dinar. Not 3, 1.5 dinar.
And if the student's paid up, then she has to go out.
You didn't pay it. You add on you're not a collection. You add on to the how much she will collect.
The other way, the other way. If the wife can be deducted, then until it comes to 0.
Oh,
once it's 0,
yeah. No, she's gonna. I think probably have to leave a little earlier. We're gonna see at some point. You have to leave. So, l'chayra says the Gemara. My redes memai. What is she rebelling? Rav Huna Amar, mitashmish hamita. She refuses to have tashmish. Rav Yosef Rav Chanina Amar, memalacha. She refuses to work. Tanan, v'chein married al ishtoi. So too, Mishnah said a man is married against his wife. Now, bishleim l'man yama mitashmish l'chai. That's very good. L'man yama melacha mi mishubed la. Is he mishubed to her? No, he's rebelling but not working. He's not mishubed to her. So says the Gemara in ba'omer any zon of any mefarnis, and he is mishubed to go ahead and give him a zaynus. I v'omar ba'omer any zon in mefarnis yoytzav yitin ksuba, right? Are you going to give? Because if a guy rebels, you give the ksuba right away. You don't add on to it. Says boy, don't you have to go first consult? In other words, it doesn't happen right away. You first go ahead and discuss it, and that discussion while it's going on, the hemming and the whoring, you'd add on to the ksuba. Basically, achasli arusa vinasua afilu nida vafilu chayla. These are all whether she's an arusa that rebels. Now you'll ask an arusa tashmish is also right. Tashmish is also by arusa, guys. So she refuses. Rashi, look at Rashi. Arusa she'omra loy enase. She says, "I don't want to get married this soon. I don't want to get married." No, she's an arusa. She has the first stage of marriage, but she doesn't do the second one because obviously you can't be speaking about tashmish because it's asa. But I feel a need that the Gemara is going to ask. Need that you can't have tashmish. Is a chayla. But I feel a shemeres yavam. Even the shemeres yavam refuses to live. She loses a ksuba. You begin to deduct.
She's not being on purpose.
No. All of these you would deduct. The Gemara is going to ask. Now, Bishlein Madiyam made tashmish. Very good that the one who says that's tashmish. Hainu diktani chayla. That's why what we learned. We learned chayla, right? We learned chayla. Says the Gemara. Alaman da'amam in malacha chayla bas malacha right? That's a tashmish. If you're sick, she's still gonna have tashmish. But if she's a chayla, she can't go ahead right? She can't go ahead and work. Says the Gemara. So Ella, what do you have to say? Mi tashmish kulyam le'plidi. You're right. If she's married tashmish, everyone holds she's what? She's a maredes. Even the mandiyama that said food would hold she's a maredes. Ki pligi. When's the machlokes? When the machlokes is mimalacha, right? Whether what? Masav and malacha loy havi maredes. The one that says only tashmish and only tashmish, and the other one says not masav malacha nami havi maredes. Not only from tashmish, but even what from malacha should also be considered maredes. So by the way, either way, you deduct. Kufa hamaredes al baila poichsen loy miksubasas. She's maredes on her husband. You go ahead, what, and you're poiches the ksuba. You take away what from the ksuba. Shiva dinar b'Shabbos, 7 dinar a week. Rav Yudaima Shiva tarpikin, again half a dinar. Rav Asenu chasu v'nimnu. The chacham, however, they got together and they were counted. Shiu machrizin alaha. They would call on her. This is going to help you out, Avrami. Arba Shabbosais. You go to the base medrash. They would call out 4 weeks in a row. Zu achazu. V'sholchan la bezdin. All right, and they v'sholchan la bezdin. And bezdin would send to Havayodas Shafil Kesuvos meya mana. Even if Kesuba is 100 mana, if sarata, you've lost your Kesuba. That's it. In other words, this argues on our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said we deduct. There's no deduction over here. It stays in place. And the machriz based medrash, this girl's a maredes. And after 4 weeks, everything. This is arguing on the Mishnah. Arguing on the Mishnah. Look at Rashi. Second line from the top. Chazu v'nimnu shaloi yashu isa lifleis ma'at. They didn't go ahead and delay and make it take the track a little bit at a time. After the 4 weeks of cooling out, that was it. She's gone. Now we continue to brisa. Achas le'arusa, whether she refuses to get married. V'nesua, v'afilu nida, afilu chayla, v'afilu shemeres yavam. Omer b'chiva Yosef, l'shmuel nida bas tashmishi. Nida's not a bas tashmish, so she's maredes, and you can't live with her anyway. Correct? What's the answer? Amalah. In other words, you're right. At this time, she's a nida, but you know it ends in sight. But if she's my redes and after nida, then that's difficult on the husband. So even though you can't have tashmish now, he knows after she's matar herself from a nidos, you would be able to have. Mashenkin, if she's my redes, you won't be able to have. She loses a ksub. You would only call out in the Bati Knesses, Bati Midrashas, Amarava Dekanami, Iktani Aber Shabbosai, Zu Achazu. I guess in shul on Shabbos everyone was there. That's the diak, I guess. Shmamino, it's a good raya. Amra merchama pamim sholchem lo mebeis din achas koydem achraza the achas achraza. The pamayim they would go ahead and they would send her from Bezdin once before the achraza, once after the achraza. Darsh they would send the messages. Darsh of Nachum bar Avtista. Allah Rabbi Seinu. The Allah is like Rabbi Seinu that she loses the ksuba after 4 weeks, and we don't deduct. Amar Rava says Rava, hi burcha. This is a burcha. This is not correct. Burcha Rashi says is a lashon of what? It's a bur. So it's not correct. Amalei Rav Nachman by Yitzchak my burcha. Say what's the incorrectness about this? Because I know misinele mishmei degava Rabba misinele umanu Rabbi Yosef Reb Chanina, and that you lose it right away. You come on savar ki hoda itmar. Rava Amar of Sheshes halacha like kihoda itmar kiha itmar Rava Amar Rav Sheshes halacha nimlachim ba, right? You go ahead and you take counsel with her. Rapuna Amar of Sheshes halacha einam lachem ba. You don't speak to her. Hechidami maredes. What's exactly maredes? Amar meimar the Amra beinalei. And with Saranalei, he goes, I want him, I want him, but I want to be mitzara him. That's a maredes. Aval Amra moyasalai. If she says that I find him not so pleasant, then loy kafin. Then we don't force her. We don't force her. Masutra amar kafin. We do force her. Have you uved? There was a case for achva masutra, and masutra forced the issue despite the fact she was not physically attracted to the man. The nafik mine Reb Chanina, Yisura, and the great Chanina, Reb Chanina came from that union. V'loihi hasam siyat d'shmaya have. Right there was what it was to siyat d'shmaya. Okay, I will stop over here.
7 because the 7 things that will be against the man.